Yo, what's good, YouTube? In today's video, I want to talk to y'all about Stephen A. Smith's initial response when he found out the news about Ime Udoka. I have a clip of First Take's video when Stephen A. Smith talked about it. And before I show y'all this clip, I want to highlight this tweet Stephen A. Smith put out after he had his take on First Take. So this is what Stephen A. Smith had to say. He said, "This suspension at Celtics coach Ime Udoka is utter bullshit. If you thought I said enough this morning on First Take, you haven't seen a damn thing yet. 10 a.m. Eastern time, Friday morning on ESPN. See y'all then. Hashtag total BS." So yeah, man, that tweet is still up, man. And today is September 26th. So, Stephen A. Smith is currently still standing on the words that came out of his mouth. I did a couple videos on this already.
Stephen A. Smith destroys Malika Andrews. Here's the short version of this video. Let's get into it. Stephen A. Smith and Malika Andrews is talking about the Ime Udoka suspension.
Stephen A., with all due respect, this is not about pointing the finger. Stop. The fact that we are sitting here debating whether somebody else should have been suspended or not, we are not here, Stephen A., to further blame women. That is not why we are here.
Stephen A. Smith was caught off guard by her feminist comments. And this is what Stephen A. Smith had to say.
Let me be very clear. I don't appreciate where you're going with that. I'm not blaming anybody but Ime Udoka. The point that I'm trying to make is just like you're not mentioning. Excuse me. I listened to you. You're the one telling me to stop on my show. It ain't happening.
Malika Andrews got destroyed, in my opinion. Like, share, comment, and subscribe.
I did a couple videos on this already. I got Kendrick Perkins' response on my second channel, but I'm going to show y'all a little bit today because it's going to be put in context with this video.
Perk, you played for the Celtics organization. What were your thoughts on this message here?
Well, one, to me, I didn't like Brad's comments on this, and let me explain why. Not the fact that he was taking up and protecting the women in the organization, but he said about the speculations and the Twitter BS and things to that nature, and how unfair it was to the women in the organization that is not involved with this particular situation. And I get that, right? But why is it speculations? It's speculations because of the reports that were put out by the actual Boston Celtics. So they didn't do a great job from the jump of actually protecting the women in their organization, because knowing that they were going to sit up here and give out this information and go out here and suspend Ime Udoka and talk about, just give a little details, is going to have people speculating. And in my eyes, I feel like the Boston Celtics dropped the ball not only in protecting their entire franchise, but in protecting the women as well. They should have made sure that they crossed their T's and dotted their I's before they put this information out. And I get it. Now we're to this point, and now he had to go on here and he had to say this and he had to say that to protect those innocent women. But at the end of the day, man, it just ain't right how they went about it. The word accountability, okay? Accountability doesn't just go to Ime Udoka, okay? Accountability goes to the other people that played a part in that as well. Let me tell you another thing I didn't like about my good friend Wick Grossbeck and Brad Stevens in this press conference when they asked, is anybody else going to be punished? And they said no. And my whole thing is this, right? These are some of the facts that have been out. These are some facts that I know that, this relationship, one of these relationships that was had with Ime Udoka and one of these women, it was consensual, meaning that this woman actually played a part in it too. So my thing is, yes, Ime Udoka was wrong. We get that. His punishment, he deserved that, and whatever else follows, I hate it for him, but he put himself in this position. But why are the other people getting left off the hook?
Well,
that's the problem that I have right now. Everybody got to be held accountable.
I think that we need to circle back to what Shanae said.
Kendrick Perkins and Stephen A. Smith is still standing on how they feel, right? Kendrick Perkins said he knows the information. And Kendrick Perkins is still like, yo, I find it odd that, there's no blame to the other party. And that's a married woman, mind you. That's not getting blamed for her actions, right? I'm trying to put this in perspective for y'all. So Stephen A. Smith is still standing on the words that came out of his mouth. He hasn't retracted anything yet, right? No apologies, no nothing. Same with Kendrick Perkins. You heard Perk in a clip I just showed y'all that he's, he got the information. So I'm thinking, based off the information that they know so far, I'm going to just say that they know all the information about this. I think wholeheartedly, this is a situation, if this was a white coach, this wouldn't have been put out in the news. Stephen A. Smith is an advocate for black coaches. He has walked out on sets speaking up for black coaches. He hates how the players don't speak up for black coaches. I'm thinking this is the reason why there's not enough black coaches in the league. Something like this, where it's two adult consensual sex. This shouldn't have been aired out by the Boston Celtics the way that they did it. It was messy how they handled it. They handled the situation all the way fucked up, in my opinion. They jumped the gun. They initially started playing a, safe place for women. They started doing that feminist shit, in my opinion, to make the situation worse and highlight it, Again, I'm only going off the information that we all know right now, currently. It takes years for racist shit to get out. With these white owners, white general managers, the white coaches, all that racist shit that they be saying and doing to players and the staff, mind you. It doesn't get put out right away. Oh my God, let a black coach have sex with a woman, consensual sex, mind you, an adult, mind you. It's a big fucking problem. It has to get aired out. It has to be this big thing. Like, I swear to God, bro, this Ime Udoka news, you would probably think that this man has raped somebody. You would probably think he was a serial rapist or some shit. Like, this is just, it's crazy. You had Matt Barnes chime in on it.
Normally I'd be chopping it up on ESPN with you guys about this, but I'm off until next week. But I definitely want to touch on this Ime Udoka situation. Just saw a year suspension was just handed down by the team for an inappropriate, consensual, sexual situation with a female that worked in the organization. I've been in the league played in the league for a long time. Anyone who played in the league could tell you this is a very common situation. This is not new news for people who've been in the league or even around organizations. I've seen it from owners to executives to coaches to players to trainers to therapists to dancers to PR ladies. Like, this is not uncommon. And to just bring some context to it, the NBA just suspended Sarver for all the shit he did, and he got a year too. So you're trying to tell me what Robert Sarver did and Udoka did are even on the same level, even in the same book, yet they warranted the same amount of time? This is a bad look, man. The Celtics, whoever made this decision, it was a terrible decision. You want to suspend a man 15, 20, 25 games, but a whole season for a consensual situation that not only happens in the NBA, but happens in every single workplace. This was a terrible call, man. Y'all let me know what you think down below.
And then he came back and retracted his statements, basically.
So last night I spoke on this Ime Udoka situation without having all the facts. And I think as a part of the media, often the media speaks to something, and when they're wrong, they won't come out and say it. And since I'm a part of the media now, and I try not to be like everyone else, I try to, report and talk with facts and honesty. And I clearly have to say last night, without knowing all the facts, I spoke on Ime Udoka's defense. And after finding out the facts after I spoke, I erased what I posted, because this situation in Boston is deep, it's messy, it's 100 times uglier than any of us thought. And that's why I erased what I said. Some things happened that I can't condone, I can't back. And it's not my place to tell you what happened. If it ends up coming out, it ends up coming out. But that was the reason why I erased in my post last night, because after I posted it, I got a call from someone who had all the details, and the shit is deep. So, man, praying for everybody involved. You know, hope everyone gets through this. And I saw a lot of blogs picked up what I said, even though it was only on my page for like 2 minutes. So hopefully they pick this up too, for me being wrong and jumping out there without the facts. So that's where I'm gonna leave it. God bless, and I hope everyone has a good weekend.
And Matt Barnes just tried to, it's like he was told to say that. He got that phone call. Yo, you need to come out, say this, make this situation look worse than what it already is. Because Perk said he had the information, and Perk was still like giving it pushback. Perk still had questions. Matt got that same information relayed to him, and he's still trying to make it, oh my God, it's worse, it's messy and worse than we can all imagine type shit. Stephen A. Smith is still standing 10 toes down on his word. So, yo, that being said, I'm going to have to salute anybody that's standing on how they felt and how they feel. And they not retracting shit. Because in my opinion, this shit is crazy. I have not seen a coach get dragged like this. Not a safe place, man, for a heterosexual black male, in my opinion. And I'm going to leave it at that. So with that being said, let's get into this video. Today's video, if you made it this long, like this video, give it a thumbs up. Let's get into this clip. Salute.
Discussing the Ime Udoka suspension, which is 1 year for a consensual relationship with a staff member. A couple notes I took, copious, and then I'll get right to the reaction, fellas. The suspension comes with a significant financial penalty. There were a couple of violations, at least. Brad Stevens was very emotional. He said, we have a lot of talented women in our organization yesterday. It was really hard on them. Nobody can control Twitter speculation and rampant expletive. And Brad Stevens definitive about the fact that he will not take over coaching ranks. Obviously, we know even if Joe Mazzulla, who will be the interim coach, didn't pan out. Stephen A., I'll start with you, and then obviously we'll get to Woj. Your reaction to what you just heard.
I didn't think coming into this show that I could get more furious, but I am. Woj, first of all, to you, thank you for your reporting on this story, on top of everything, as always. All I'm going to do is give you my perspective. I certainly don't expect you to have comments about that. Wick, the owner, Wick Grousberg, I like him. I've known him for years. Constantly running across him, made many Celtics events. Been very fond of him. Incredibly disappointed today. Ime Udoka cannot be defended. His actions were egregious, irresponsible to be in the leadership position that he is in. I'm not here to make any excuses or any apologies for his behavior. It is inexcusable. It's a fireable offense as far as I'm concerned. But it doesn't negate what the Celtics are doing here. According to your reports, Woj, and what we have been talking about over the last couple of days, this was a consensual relationship. Was Ime Udoka involved with himself? The answer to that question is no. Two consenting adults engaged in this act or these actions that clearly were in violation of the Boston Celtics policy. But all we're hearing about is Ime. And to Wick Grousberg, who I profoundly respect, I would strongly advise you. Grousbeck, I'm sorry. I apologize. I don't know why I said Grousbeck. To Wick, I would strongly advise him. Maybe he should speak to a publicist or take some classes himself, because he threw out a couple of bombs there about Ime Udoka. Implications that feed stereotypes and things of that nature. And I'm not going to regurgitate what he said, but it was very, very alarming, highly one-sided. And as far as I'm concerned, based on this press conference, there is no reason on earth right now why Ime Udoka is still a head coach of the Boston Celtics, albeit a suspended one. Because not only did you suspend him, but Woj, correct me if I'm wrong, he also said, then we'll reevaluate after next year. So you retain his right.
That was very gray, that
That's
whole
right.
part of it. What does he need to do between now and June to retain his job?
He didn't answer that, number one. Number two, he didn't make a declaration that after the year suspension, Ime would be back. He said, we'll revisit it then. Now, I understand that at this particular moment in time, Woj, you and I both know, covering the NBA for as long as we have, that Ime Udoka is an unhirable individual. But the unhirable portion of it, I would make the claim, is primarily due to the fact that the story was leaked out and we are now discussing it publicly. That's what would make him unhirable. If you didn't know, if NDAs, non-disclosure agreements, were signed and this was sort of kept in-house, but you fired him, the likely, who knows what the chances are. But after this press conference, the NBA itself, not to mention any team in the league, you can't touch Ime Udoka at this particular moment in time because of the implications that were given at this press conference. I mean, my God. Listen, let's go back, and I'm not going to sit up there and regurgitate it again, but go back and listen to Wick talk. I'm very alarmed by this, Woj, and I'm going to just leave it at that for the moment.
Woj, give us your reaction to what you heard or any question marks that you have.
Yeah, certainly. Listen, Wick Grousbeck and Brad Stevens did not provide a lot of clarity on how they reached their decision for a one-year suspension and not a dismissal. I think Grousbeck essentially said it was a gut feel, and in consultation with others in Celtic leadership, it was ultimately his decision. But it certainly does leave Ime Udoka in a limbo here as this season begins. Again, he was given no assurance that he would be back as Celtics coach. And I think what Boston is doing now is leaving open, the possibility, of course, that they could bring him back, but certainly not committing to anything. But I think if there's somebody else out there who's going to hire Ime Udoka, number one, they're going to have to do their own diligence into what exactly happened in Boston. And then, they're going to have to reach a comfort level that that they would be able to bring Udoka into their organization and that he would be able to, get over all the thresholds it would take to hire somebody who is under this kind of suspension. But certainly it's unprecedented in nature. And again, would this have been the investigation and the findings 5 years ago, 7 years ago? I don't know. But in 2022, and you heard Grousbeck talk about, the Celtics being in a corporate structure like many other companies, it is a different day, I think, especially for an individual who is in leadership. And again, a situation where he is the head coach, he's overseeing basketball operations in a large part along with Brad Stevens, and an involvement with a subordinate. And I think, again, if Ime Udoka was an assistant coach, if he worked in the video room, might it be different? Perhaps. I do think it gets back to his leadership, but it certainly puts it leaves as many questions as they provided answers today.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN Plus.
All right, that's the end of the clip. Be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. This is Self-Talk News, man. I'll holla at y'all. We out.
If you made it this far in the video, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe if you're new, and leave a comment down below. If you would like to support the channel, you can do so by hitting the Cash App at self.youtube. Thank you.
Be sure to like, comment and subscribe.